I want to bring in foreign correspondent Tom Soufi-Burridge in Kyiv, Elizabeth Schelsey at the White House, and former senior CIA field operative, ABC News contributor Darrell Blocker for more on this. Elizabeth, the Biden administration is working to try to designate Gershkovich as a wrongfully detained American. What would that classification mean for him?
Hey, Diane. Well, this designation would basically allocate additional resources from the federal government to try to speed up Gershkovich's release. And we also heard Martha report there it would shift control of the case to the State Department's Office of Hostage Affairs. So the State Department saying it's working to do that. The White House tells us that this is a priority. We know that the Wall Street Journal's lawyers were able to see Gershkovich, but still American diplomats have not had access to him since his arrest. So getting that consular access is also a key priority right now, Diane.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken at a NATO ministerial meeting in Brussels said there's no doubt that Gershkovich was wrongfully detained. So how long could it take to get this formal classification?
Right. Secretary Blinken doubling down there, saying that in his mind, it's very clear that he was wrongfully detained, that Gershkovich is not accused of spying, as the Russians have repeatedly said. So one official tells us that this could come at any moment, this designation, that they've basically been working at the State Department to get this process going as soon as Gershkovich was arrested to try to speed up that process. But also Blinken making clear there is a process that it needs to go through to do due diligence. But this is obviously a priority to get it done as fast as possible.
Tom, have the Russians provided any evidence for the charges against Gershkovich?
Diane, not a shred of evidence, in fact, despite the fact that Russian officials repeatedly claim, without any basis, that Evan Gershkovich was, quote, caught red-handed. For people who know Evan Gershkovich, including some of our colleagues, he is a dedicated, hard-working reporter, fascinated by Russia and dedicated to explaining Russia to the outside world. And I think people have to look at the wider context here. In Russia today, there is a continuing clampdown on freedom of speech. The Russian state parliament at the moment is trying to outlaw any person speaking out in favor of that indictment against Vladimir Putin at the International Criminal Court on war crimes charges. And you have to link that clampdown inside Russia to the picture here in Ukraine. And what's happening here in Ukraine at the moment is that the Ukrainian military are preparing for a major new offensive with huge Western support, in particular US support. And that's why, for supporters, friends and family of Evan Gershkovich, he is simply being used as a political pawn by Russia in that broader context.
Darrell, why do this? What's Russia's end goal here?
Well, the way I look at it, it could be threefold. To send a message to all the foreign journalists that freedom of speech is not accepted inside Russia. To plant a seed of doubt that maybe they've been penetrated by spies, but also to use him possibly as a bargaining chip, as they did in the Brittany Griner case.
And the process of bringing back an American detained overseas can take months or even years. So, Darrell, what options does the United States have right now?
Unfortunately, Putin holds all of the cards, so it's going to be a wait and see to reveal exactly what he's being accused of, and to maybe counter that by the fact that this is a guy who's known to Putin. He's been reporting as a Moscow-based reporter for the Moscow Times, for the French press. So he would be very, very well known to the internal service.
All right, Elizabeth Schelsey, Tom Soufi-Burridge, Darrell Blocker, thank you all.